What was your opinion about the division of Germany and the Berlin Wall and airdrop, the blockade?
Well, I think I was there for part of that anyway. And we were General Tunner was the general in charge of that Berlin airlift. And it was very successful. The Russians thought that we would never continue it. But it was a really, really big project about getting everything over there. You have to think about everything: coal, fuel of any form or fashion, food, everything that you needed, because they wouldn't let you go overland and they had to be flown in by air. So that was really a big undertaking. But it showed at least our determination to not let them just take over all of Berlin. So that was good. We went on a trip to Germany, Berlin, and we were on a train, and it was an overnight train from Frankfurt to Berlin, and we went with another couple, the commander of the hospital, and they stopped us coming into Berlin. We had to sit there for several hours in a railroad yard, and I rolled out the window and we were right next to a Russian troop train. And one of the unique things about them is when they transport a tank, for instance, which this was, the people that were assigned to that tank went with the tank. And this was just on a flatbed car, and these guys were sleeping on the flatbed, whether it was raining or not. So wherever the equipment went, that's where you went. And you didn't have a special train for the personnel and a special train for the equipment. It was all a unit. That was interesting. And when we went to Berlin, the American sector, the British sector, and the French sector were really vital. They had flowers, and they had open air restaurants, and they had very good beer and good food and all this kind of stuff. And at the Brandenburg Gate, I guess that was Checkpoint Charlie, I think as they called it. There a lot of the Russians would come over to those sectors en masse to eat, and then they go back. And I took one day, we were there for I forgot how long, but I took one day and I went through Checkpoint Charlie, and I walked through the eastern sector, and it was like a completely different country, even though it was the same city. The people were drab, everybody's head was down, the stores were like not very plenished with anything. I walked into one store and I had on civilian clothes, a shirt and tie and stuff, and everybody stopped talking instantly because I thought I was, I don't know, state police or something. But anyway, it was very, very, no flowers in the windows. People were just not happy. They just had it down. It was just a bad, it was an excellent example of what our way of life was compared to what their life was.
All right. So when you were in the U.S., what was life like for you during the Second Red Scare in 1947 to 1957?
1947 to 57. Well, I was, let's see. I graduated from high school in 48. So quite frankly, I just knew that the Russians were bad guys as far as I was concerned at that time, as a senior in high school. And I was in 3 years at UW, Milwaukee, and I was busy with schooling and things like that, plus working. So I really just knew that things are bad, and I hope that they were doing the right things. Whenever they stood up to them, I made me happy. And then I got a deferment. I was going to be drafted as 1A, and I got a deferment as 2S, I think it was, because I got accepted to dental school in 51. So then when I graduated in 55, I got my commission. That's when I got into the Air Force.
All right. So, what did you do to prepare for potential nuclear war during the Cuban Missile Crisis?
Well, that was very interesting. The radio and television were showing people how to dig shelters and how to stockpile them and how far down below the ground you had to dig them and all this kind of stuff. And a few of our neighbors actually went to the trouble of doing that.
Yeah.
We didn't.
Did you like collect food up or anything?
Excuse me?
Did you collect like canned food or anything?
Well, I don't think so.
So you weren't really too worried about it?
No.
Alright. So, did you agree with the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War? Why or why not? And what did you do to support?
Well, those years were what?
1957 to 1975.
And the question again, sir?
Did you agree with the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War? Why or why not? And what did you do to support what you believed?
Well, it started in '57, so that means that's when I was in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sorry to see that. I think I was sorry to hear that we had to get into another conflict, but where I was already getting the tail end of another conflict, so I really didn't have much to say about that, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
But
So,
once I came home, and we had all these people that were demonstrating,
mhm.
that didn't make me too happy.
So you agreed with them fighting in the war?
Yes.
Okay. So, did you have friends that fought in the Korean or Vietnam Wars? And did they have any stories?
Yes. One of my classmates from grade school, St. Stephen's grade school, Joseph Charlie, he was in the Korean War, and he had many stories to say.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you remember about the space race, and what were your feelings about it?
I thought the space race was, the decisions we made to go into space were prompted obviously by the Russians' coup, and I thought that that was another good example of American know-how and can-do, and I was all approving of it.
So was it cool to see the getting on the moon landing?
Oh yeah, that was really a success. That literally put American technology and American perseverance and American everything right up on top of everybody.
Yeah. So at the end of the Cold War, around 1991, what did you do and how did you feel like when it ended?
It was a long drawn out affair, obviously. But again, our principles and our way of life kind of persevered.
Mm-hmm.
We took a lot of nicks and stuff like that. And we're still fighting it, even today. Especially today, it's still bad.
Did you like celebrate it all when it like ended?
Do we celebrate? I might have had a drink.
Alright.
Thank you, sir. It was a
Thanks,
pleasure.
Bucky.